There's something strange happening in golf right now. And if you're really paying attention, it's honestly a little unsettling. Scottie Scheffler keeps losing, not collapsing. And somehow, that might be the most dangerous sign of all. Because when most great players lose, you can see the cracks. The losses don't look like weakness. They look like warnings. Like he's standing one shot away, one bounce away, one hot putting week away from turning the entire sport back into his personal property. The question isn't just why Scottie Scheffler keeps losing. The real question is unstoppable run. And if you truly love golf, if this game means something to you, and if you enjoy stories like this that go deeper than just scores and leaderboards, then subscribe and become part of this golf family. Because golf deserves to be felt, not just watched. Now here's the thing. Golf fans hear the word losing, and our minds instantly go to failure. But in Scottie Scheffler's case, that word can be completely misleading. Because for most players, losing means they were never really there. They were out of the fight by Friday. They had one nice round and disappeared. They flashed, then faded. Scottie doesn't do that. When he loses, he usually loses while still hanging there on the back nine. He's there in the conversations. He's there making everyone feel him. That's not ordinary losing. That's pressure. That's presence. That's control. Because the scary version of Scottie Scheffler isn't always the one already winning by 4. Sometimes it's the version that keeps finishing just short while still looking like the cleanest, calmest, most repeatable machine in the field. That version tells you the foundation is still there. The swing is still there. The ball striking is still there. The nerve is still there. He doesn't need to rebuild anything. He just needs 1 week when the last little piece lines up. But here's the part nobody talks about. Near misses can actually make a great player even more dangerous than easy wins. A win can relax you. A comfortable run can soften the edge just a little. But a close loss sticks to you. It follows you to the range. It stays with you during dinner. It shows up when you wake up early and start replaying one tee shot, one lip out, one decision, one bounce. And for a player wired like Scheffler, that kind of pain doesn't just hurt. It sharpens. It organizes. It creates obsession. That's what makes elite athletes different. They don't just remember losses. They catalog them. They store them. They use them later. And if you've watched Scottie long enough, you can feel that about him. He doesn't seem like a player who needs noise or drama to get motivated. He looks like the kind of guy who can take one frustrating Sunday and turn it into 3 months of ruthless focus. Quietly, privately, completely. That's terrifying in a sport where most players are trying to hold themselves together week to week. And this is where everything changed in the way a lot of fans started seeing him. At first, Scottie's dominance felt almost simple. Fairways, greens, pressure golf, smart misses, calm reactions, no fireworks, no showmanship, just relentless quality. But then something else happened. The expectations got so absurd that anything less than a win started feeling like a disappointment. Think about how insane that is. In professional golf, against the best players on earth, simply contending started to look like underachieving. That's how high his standard became. And when that happens, the whole conversation around a player changes. We stop asking, is he great? We start asking, why didn't he finish it? That's a completely different level of scrutiny. It means the world no longer measures you against the field. It measures you against your own ceiling. Scottie lives there now. Wait till you hear what that does to the rest of the tour. Because when a player keeps losing but still looks like the most solid guy in the room, everybody else knows what that means. They know they're not beating a broken star. They're beating a giant who still hasn't fully clicked. And that creates a very specific kind of tension. If you're another top player, you might feel relief in the moment. You got the trophy. You survived. You closed him out. But deep down, you also know he was right there again. He wasn't far off. He didn't need saving. He didn't need luck. He was just there. Again, that kind of consistency can become mentally exhausting for everyone else. Because golf is supposed to be unstable. That's part of what makes it beautiful. Form comes and goes. Confidence moves. Timing disappears. Even the greats drift. But Scottie's floor has felt so high for so long that every event starts with the same quiet truth. If he has even a decent week with the putter, this entire tournament changes. That thought alone is enough to sit in the back of a leaderboard and make people uncomfortable. And here's the emotional part of this story. The reason fans stay locked in isn't just because Scottie is excellent. It's because there's something human in the way he loses. He doesn't look fake. He doesn't perform frustration for the cameras. He doesn't turn every setback into some dramatic speech. He looks like a golfer carrying the same burden every serious player understands. You work. You prepare. You sacrifice. You get close. And sometimes close still hurts like failure. That's what makes him relatable, even in the middle of greatness. Golf fans know this feeling. We've all had rounds where the scorecard doesn't tell the full story. The swing felt good. The rhythm was there. The recovery shots were brave. And still, 2 mistakes changed everything. That's why Scottie's losses don't feel empty. They feel familiar. Even on the biggest stages, golf can still humble the best player in the world by inches. But don't mistake that humility for vulnerability. Because here's what makes this whole thing so uncomfortable for the rest of the game. Scottie doesn't need a miracle comeback story. He doesn't need to find himself. He doesn't need a swing overhaul. He doesn't need a personality reinvention. He's not trying to rise from chaos. He is already standing at the top of the sport, and the scary part is that he can still get better from here. Think about that for a second. A lot of golfers build careers on one magical season. One heater. One stretch where everything lands perfectly. But Scheffler's aura feels different because it doesn't seem built on magic. It seems built on repeatability. That is the word that should concern everybody. Repeatability. His game travels. His patience travels. His decision-making travels. Even when the result doesn't. And this is where golf history starts whispering in the background. The most intimidating players were never just the ones who won. They were the ones who made you believe they were about to win every single time they teed it up. That's a different level of power. It changes how broadcasts feel. It changes how fans watch. It changes how opponents breathe. Scottie is entering that space. Maybe he's already there. Not because he wins every week, but because every week feels like it could become his week by Saturday afternoon. That's a nightmare for a tour trying to beat him. But here's the part nobody can ignore. Golf doesn't care about reputation. Golf doesn't hand out trophies for being the best long-term machine. At some point, you still have to finish. You still have to stare down the shot, hit the putt, trust the number, and close the door. That's where all the tension in this story lives. Because eventually, even the most loyal fans start wondering the same thing. Is he being held back by tiny details? Or are these tiny details the only thing separating dominance from dynasty? That question is why this story works. It's not about whether Scottie Scheffler is elite. He is. It's not about whether he belongs at the center of golf. He does. It's about what these losses really mean. Are they signs that the rest of the game is caught up just enough to keep him human? Or are they the final, frustrating stage before another run so powerful that everyone looks back and says, we should have seen it coming? And this is where everything gets emotional. Because every sport has a moment when greatness stops looking flashy and starts looking inevitable. It becomes quieter, colder, more mature, less about proving, more about collecting. Scottie feels close to that territory. These losses may not be proof that he's slipping. They may be proof that he's learning how to survive every version of pressure the game can throw at him. The wild weeks, the slow weeks, the weeks when the crowd wants drama, the weeks when someone else goes nuclear. He keeps staying there. He keeps absorbing. He keeps returning. That matters. It matters because golf is not won only by talent. It's won by endurance of spirit, by handling boredom, pressure, noise, expectations, luck, bad breaks in your own mind. And the players who master that don't always look hottest in the moment. Sometimes they look the calmest in the storm. Sometimes they look like they're losing, right up until the day they take over the entire season again. So maybe that's the real story here. Scottie Scheffler keeps losing, but the losses don't feel like endings. They feel like chapters, like unfinished sentences, like the game is trying everything it can to keep him from becoming even bigger than he already is. And one day soon, those close calls may stop feeling frustrating and start looking like a warning we all ignored. That is why stories like this matter. Because golf isn't just about who wins this week. It's about what pressure reveals, what setbacks build, and what a player becomes when the game refuses to make it easy. Scottie Scheffler may be losing more than people expected. But if these losses are building the next version of him, then the rest of the golf world should be very, very careful. So what do you think? Are Scottie's near misses proof that the field is catching up? Or are they the early signs of another dominant run coming soon? Drop your take in the comments. And if you love golf stories with real emotion, real tension, and real respect for this game. Stay with the channel. We've got a lot more to talk about.